Well, my watch shows 12:15 on Friday. We finally got here. Let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Adapt to Accelerate Growing in the Flow of Work on LinkedIn Live and our inaugural event. Today, you are part of something special. I'm Pete Van Overwall, and alongside me is the brilliant and unstoppable Sandra Metzger. Hey, Sandra.
One, we're excited you're here because you're investing your precious time in yourself today, and we promise to make it worth it. Thank you for being here.
Well, I hope you're enjoying a break from your fast paced day. Lunch hour sometimes is a misnomer, but you have to take a break to fuel yourself. So kudos to you for prioritizing your own professional development. So kick back and buckle up because here we go.
Yeah, and one thing I know for certain is that the pathway to higher performance is not a one-time event, but rather a continuous journey. And it takes a commitment and grit to really stay in the course over time. This reality sparked an idea that came to life for Pete and me just, I don't know, 60 days ago. And this, um, uh, to like state the obvious, we are living in what we teach about with innovation and speed. And so it's about jumping right in and getting started and not letting great get in the way of good. So Pete and I are trying to live out what we're talking about today.
Oh, yes, time waits for no one. We're no exception, Sandra. And related to the next 30 minutes, we'll spend time that we'll spend together. Here's a walk through our agenda. You can see this on your screen. So this is our very welcome. We're going to introduce ourselves a little bit, only appropriate to get to know us better as we look to build trust and a relationship through this process. We'll explain a little bit, why have we brought Adapt Edge, the brand that creates the space for this virtual engagement and experience, and then what you can expect. Today is the inaugural event. We will show up here every Friday at 12:15 Eastern Time and give you the open invitation to join us whenever and as you like. Now, the heart of the Adapt to Accelerate experience is the topic, right? Today, we're going to get to a topic. You may not know this yet, but it's about speed wins, and it's the adaptability in action. We'll talk more about it in just a minute, but that's the main course that we're going to serve in addition to your lunch that you'll have a chance to remunerate on and reflect on and apply as you go into your work week next week. So I'd like to welcome you. If you'd like to add in comments along the way, feel free to do so. I see some people shouting out, which is wonderful. We've got a global audience here. I noticed someone from Spain that has happens to be in my network and someone from Kenya. So how cool is that? We're just reaching a broad audience. And also in the comments, feel free to drop any reactions, any thoughts or reflections that you have. And if you have a question, please drop that in as well. If time permits, we'll have a chance to address those before our time wraps up today.
Yeah, but let's do some old-fashioned manners first. Allow us to briefly introduce ourselves. I'm Sandra Metzger, a lifelong educator and learning science geek who's passionate about intentionally leveraging AI, the big new hot topic. It's not actually all that new, but I want to leverage and help other people leverage AI to solve real problems, really, so that we can spend time on the human things that matter the most.
Hello again, I'm Pete, and helping people grow is my jam. I'm a growth coach, an adaptability champion, and a business consultant driven by a belief that everyone has the right to live a fulfilling life, leave a positive legacy, and keep growing through continuous learning and bold experimentation.
Yeah, and we met serendipitously last year. Actually, it might be over a year ago now,
Yeah.
Pete. But we met at a networking event at the amazing Launch Fishers. So if you're anywhere in the Indianapolis area, Launch Fishers is a fantastic place where people and teams and companies show up to connect, collaborate, and grow.
I've had a lot of coffee at Launch Fishers. It's pretty good, by the way. I suggest the dark roast. But I remember that meeting very well, Sandra. And it's wonderful to look back when you're open and you're innovative and you're exploring to new opportunities. It's amazing what good things can come, even if you don't really perceive it or understand it at that time.
That's right. Okay, so some real talk here, Pete. What is adapt to accelerate, growing in the flow of work, uh, this event? And why should busy professionals like us carve out time for it?
That's a great question, Sandra. Let me just pause for a minute and ask you, in the pace of your busy work, have you ever felt like this?
Mm,
You've gotten
yep.
your work done. It's been a hectic week. You finally have a little bit of time for yourself. And what do you do with it? Do you invest in your professional development? Or do you perhaps gaze off into the distance, trying to recollect yourself, reframe, and muster a little bit of energy into what you do next? You ever been here, Sandra?
Uh, I have, and usually it's after going 100 miles an hour and I'm just exhausted.
Yeah, I can sympathize and empathize with that as well. It's very natural, it's very normal. But that's the problem and the challenge here we're trying to address. So, when it comes to what we're doing, we're showing up on LinkedIn Live to tackle a real challenge. Professionals are short on time. A recent study in Forbes articles suggested that 41% of professionals want to develop themselves in a way that's fulfilling, yet they simply lack the time. So you're hungry, and probably I'm speaking to you here and that very reason. So I'm preaching to the choir, but you're hungry for the growth that actually matters. So the design of adapt to accelerate is about a 30-minute weekly power up designed for professionals who want to grow faster, lead smarter, and adapt better. Our commitment is to bring practical, punchy, and high impact, no fluff, just one topic, one skill, one best practice, and one tool you can use immediately.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out that this isn't just like, hey, we're going to throw something out there. I mean, I've done lots of one-time presentations or webinars. We're really trying to bring a series of things together and make this something that over time you really see that growth and development. So really, Pete, basically it's like a personal trainer for your professional edge, right?
Yes, but no burpees, I promise, and no sweating. It's really, think about like a daily shot on Fridays of clarity, momentum to end your week strong, reflect over the weekend, and launch into Monday morning ready to move.
Yes, I love it. But what's the why behind this? I think we should talk about that.
Well, it's clear that speed wins, and we're going to unpack that a little bit today. But the world isn't slowing down, and neither should your development. Leaders who wait to find time just get left behind. Adapt to
Mhm.
accelerate. Growing in the flow work is for people who want to stay ready, not scramble to catch up.
Yeah, so the future of work favors the fast, the focused, and the fearless.
I think you nailed it, Sandra. So, why don't you tell us a little bit more?
Okay, well, before we serve up today's main course, and hopefully it pairs well with whatever you all are eating for lunch, tell us, how did we, let's talk about how do we come up with the topics that we have planned out for the next Fridays?
Yeah, thanks for asking. So, our programming is laser focused on high impact growth drivers that often sit just outside the scope of traditional corporate training. That's not a criticism or a knock, it's reality. Today's organizations have limited capacity to pivot, especially when it means of letting go of outdated content or squeezing the juice from already constrained and prioritized resources.
That's right. That totally resonates. I mean, I've seen that challenge firsthand. Um, all right, so to name it, like put it into the words that we want to keep using over and over again. Adapt to accelerate, growing in the flow of work, zeroes in on innovation, change leadership, and adaptability. And all of that is, or all three of those are infused with a good, healthy dose of AI literacy and a little bit of futures literacy to keep us all looking ahead of the curve, planning for what's coming next, doing what we can today.
Yeah, that's a healthy menu, Sandra. So I hope as you show up hungry, there's a little bit of everything that you might want to choose and snack from. But the point I want to make, it's about a continuous journey and an investment in commitment over time. And let's go a little bit further. There are many quality talent development resources out there, virtual sessions, even in-person programming, but there's room to innovate in other ways. People often focus when it comes to innovation or the product or the service, but Sandra and I double down on the process to delivering the talent experience, focus on when, how, and how often, and with the opportunity to create the professional learning community outside of traditional boundaries. Our creative approach may look a little wild, but it is strategically wired.
Yeah, and honestly, not everything is set up perfectly yet. That's part of why we're launching to get you all engaged in the process of our own iterations. But here's what we decided to do. Everyone loves Friday, right? Well, most everyone, I think. The weekend is almost there. You can look back at your accomplishments, and maybe, just maybe, you're willing to take a look, pause for a second, and do something for yourself. I was teasing Pete, like, it's not the same as getting your nails done, but it is doing something for yourself. You're learning your own personal development. And like Pete said, that, or showed us that image, right? You can pause for a minute and have time to develop yourself.
Yeah, that's so important, Sandra. You know the old saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. So we hope that the seeds that we plant on Friday, that you have space to cultivate during your free thinking time over the weekend. So don't worry, we're not going to give you formal homework. We don't want to challenge your work-life balance.
Sorry, I just noticed that some people were having trouble with the slide. So I hope you guys get that figured out, because we don't have a tech support right now. So if you can help each other out, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Monday then. So, right, Friday, you're going to get this little dose of learning. You have that time over the weekend. And then on Monday, when you hop back to work on Monday, you're warmed up, you're ready, your brain's had some time to consolidate. Those ideas are kind of marinating. But on Monday, then you can start applying the new idea, and really feel like you're coming at it from fresh.
And don't worry, if you miss any of the Adapt to Accelerate episodes, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where they will be available for you to peruse by topic. And that way, really fitting into the flow of your life. When you have the moment, you're open-minded, you're not falling asleep in front of your computer like we were just uninspired by, you'll have a chance to fit that in. All right, Sandra, let's launch in today's main topic.
Okay. Hold on. I'm so sorry, but my battery just said,
oh, no worries.
Have to take a quick timeout, Pete. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. No, that's teamwork for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So today's mission that you have accepted, you didn't really know that you've accepted it, but it's a critical truth. Inspired by the book, it's not the big that eat the small, it's the fast that eats the slow. We're bringing speed as a critical component into your growth experience about moving forward, being adaptable, but doing it quickly. There's an interesting fact that 85% of leaders say adaptability is now more important than ever than before, yet only 30% of professionals feel equipped to do something about it. What is it and how do I build it? So that's a pretty big gap, and we're motivated to help reduce that. And I'd like to say that speed itself, think about the highway, speed can be dangerous, but speed when it comes to innovation and adaptability is not for speed's sake. It's not reckless. It's about learning quickly. It's about acting decisively and creating an environment where people adapt without fear. That's where adaptability becomes your superpower. People are adaptable. Since the dawn of time, we have evolved to be adaptable over many, many things in life, but not all at the same level. We're not all the same height. We don't all like the same foods. And people show up differently during times of change. So there's a lot under the hood here, but let's take a little bit of a deeper look under the hood. Sandra, back to you and welcome back.
Yeah, thanks. Just gotta make sure you're plugged in well. In today's world, speed does win, and I like how you put it. It's not that recklessness. It's about learning speed, doing speed, iteration speed, right? And so agile, empowered teams that can act fast, stay focused, and measure what will always measure what matters. Those kinds of teams and companies will always outrun size and strategy alone. I mean, simplicity scales, culture will drive it, accountability fuels it, and then growth demands it.
Yeah, I tell you, I remember the exact trip I took to Cape Hatteras in North Carolina, driving, 14 hours from the homeland of Indianapolis, listening to this book on tape. And it was so powerful because, if you're a small company or even a medium-sized company, you could be a large company, but there's someone bigger than you. You can't rely on size to be the differentiating factor. And in reality, larger organizations aren't necessarily better because there's more complexity and they can be slower. So turn to speed. These things you can control to, with some exceptions internally, and that can be the key differentiator. So to bring this to life, we wanted to tee up an example of how this plays out in financial services. So you may or may not be in financial services, I admit that, but we're going to tee up a scenario here where you have two leaders. Yes, one's going to be fast and successful, one's going to be slow and just not make the mark. But adult learning is about applying it into a real life scenario. So please lean into this, as hopefully you're continuing to enjoy your lunch, and we will unpack this. So for context, many industries are continuing to go rampant change. But in 2025, rapid economic shifts are reshaping financial services landscape. So falling interest rates are boosting activity. That's a good thing. However, Gen Zers now are showing up to buy homes and townhouses in the marketplace, and they demand instant AI-powered digital experience. We've got fintech disruptors that are responsible with real-time credit risk tools and seamless mobile platforms that refine customer expectations.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly, companies and people in this reality have the opportunity to leverage speed as a competitive advantage. So in order to bring this to life, we're going to set out two imaginary scenarios, okay? They are fictitious, but realistic, based on what's really happening. And even Pete and I, we've had our own experiences with these scenarios in the real world. So we're going to be able to simulate our learning.
All right, Sandra, well, please introduce to us our two learning personas.
Okay, so we're going to start with Fast Financial. That's a giveaway there. But Fast Financial is a rising regional bank that's redefining speed, service, innovation in modern banking. It has a strategic focus on capturing the growing refinance market. The company blends AI-powered solutions, agile execution, and even a culture that embraces smart risk-taking. And with all of that, they're able to deliver real-time value to their customers. And at the center of this transformation and innovation is Maria. She has spent the last 3 years growing her influence inside of Fast Financial. Now, just 6 months ago, she got her first senior leadership role as VP of Retail Banking. Maria is stepping into her moment. She's leading in a bold new initiative on mortgage refinancing, and she's seizing the opportunity to prove that speed, collaboration, and customer-centric innovation can unlock growth for both the business and her career.
Oh, I can feel the drama just coming out of the Maria icon here on our screen. That's exciting. Well, let's flip over. Let's talk about Empire Trust. So they are a well-established financial institution known for its conservative approach, its deep regulatory roots, and a steady operational performance. So call it a blue chip stock. They're proven. So while its legacy systems and cautious culture have ensured stability, they've also slowed the institution's ability to keep up pace with fast-moving market shifts, especially in the high growth refinance space. Now, Tom, interesting guy, he's a seasoned leader with a decade of tenure at Empire Trust. He's delivered a mix of solid, in some cases, maybe moderate performance over the past 5 years, but he has his eyes set on a VP promotion. And he's been tapped to lead the organization's refinancing initiative, and he's eager to lean into that for his own personal career growth and win as well. So it's a critical opportunity to prove that he can drive innovation in a system that's built for caution. Feel the tension here already? So for Tom, it isn't just about another project. It's a defining moment to show that he can break through barriers, align stakeholders, and modernize at the speed of change. So to thicken the plot a little bit, don't worry about reading all these details. Sandra and I will walk you through and tell you the story about what Maria did and what Tom did to address these opportunities, both real and both challenging in their own right.
Yeah, and we hope that those two examples, resonate with you. So, as you know, Maria was only 6 months into her new role as the director, and she faced her first big test, which was capturing a rising refinancing market, amid increasing fintech competition and shifting customer expectations. So instead of over planning, Maria leaned into her strength, which was speed with purpose. She pitched an AI-powered mortgage pre-approval tool, formed a cross-functional team, and set an aggressive 6-week MVP goal, MVP being minimum viable product, enough to get out there and get going. So resistance came quickly. Legacy mindsets, risk-averse peers, concerns from compliance, but Maria broke through by engaging compliance early, part of that cross-functional team early, running agile sprints and creating psychological safety, creating a culture where it was okay to test and learn together. Her bias for speed became a team asset, not just a personal trait. What she embodied became what her team embodied. In just 45 days, the MVP launched. The business saw 12% Q2 lift in refinancing, faster frontline feedback, and a reputation for innovation. More importantly, Maria proved that leadership in today's world means acting fast, learning faster, and bringing others along for the ride.
Thanks, Sandra. What an amazing story for Maria and the outcomes in the company. Let's parallel back to Tom. So I think I said Tom is a longstanding mid-level leader. He's eager for growth on this big battleship that moves kind of slowly, and he recognizes this is a pivotal opportunity to lead the organization to push into the refinance market that's just sitting out there in the marketplace waiting for them to show up. However, there are customs and traditions, there's limits within the organization that despite Tom's best efforts, you still have to face. It's like walking into wind with yourself leaning forward, you still feel that pressure. And instead of acting fast, those forces influenced Tom to follow the more familiar playbook. So what he did was what typically they would always do, which is to launch a feasibility study, a 6-month feasibility study. Not a 6-day, not a 6-minute, but 6 months. That caused a delay in the IT steering committee review. And last but not least, compliance wasn't involved early enough. So by the time they got to the solution phase, compliance brought up all these concerns, red flags about risk. How come they weren't involved earlier? I think you've heard that story before. So with a culture steeped in fear of failure and internal competition, progress was extremely slow. As a matter of fact, it just crawled. IT had a very rigid waterfall system versus the agile method, which has proven to show better outcomes in speed. And of course, compliance being reactive at the last minute, not their fault. They were brought in late, only added friction. So the iteration slowed, momentum stalled. And by the time the tool launched, they did show up in the marketplace. It was 9 months later, and the market had already moved on. So competitors captured the refinance opportunity. The tool was outdated on arrival because advances had been made. It required instant rework. How painful is that? Trust faded internally and morale dipped, and Empire Trust lost valuable market share. So for Tom, the lesson was clear. He did learn from this, although it was painful. In today's environment, speed isn't optional. It's a difference between leading the market or watching it pass you by.
Yeah, and these fictitious organizations that we put out here for you are we put something out that's fictitious, but this exact thing is happening over and over and over again with real companies on a daily basis. Whether it's in every industry, actually. So at the risk of stating the obvious, Maria and Fast Financial wins in this case. And the results speak for themselves. Don't they, Pete?
Indeed.
So, yeah, so let's zoom back out and highlight why Maria had a much better outcome than Tom. And again, we're trying to make sure that you see these concepts in context and not just, bullet points. So let's include some fast facts, some real facts that align to these scenarios that we showed you.
Thanks. And I'd like to talk about Maria for a little bit, right? Because she's the one that
Okay.
won. I like to align myself with successful people. So Maria, she embraced the adaptive speed over perfection. In Tom's case, leadership defaulted to caution over market responsiveness. Plenty of studies have shown the simple fact that I'll offer is speed is the #1 predictor of innovation success.
Yeah. Maria spearheaded early cross-functional collaboration. She reduced rework with Tom. Rework in comparison with Tom, who was allowing the silos to slow down that execution. So McKinsey actually reported that teams using cross-functional collaboration can shorten development cycles as much as 25%, which cuts down not just on time, but the cost of reworking stuff.
And I'm honored to highlight the importance of psychological safety because I think it's an area that's often misunderstood and so desperately needed in today's environment in corporate life. So psychological safety on Maria's side allowed for rapid iteration. People had the ability to speak up, even despite popular opinion, to make the solution being discussed even better. On the other side, where psychological safety, may be a positive work environment, but it wasn't there, this resistance to change, not wanting to speak up or participate or lean into it, created this internal drag. So statistically, through research, it's been shown that teams with high psychological safety make decisions 25% faster. That's shocking.
Yeah. Well, it's shocking, but then those of us who have been in a psychologically safe culture or have been nurtured in those spaces, we know that that is just common sense. It works, right? So the IT and compliance, they were positioned as partners in the change and not blockers. I think that's so important. The culture prioritized that risk avoidance in Tom's side, right? They were prioritizing risk avoidance over that customer centric innovation. And really, you start looking out like, what do our customers need? And studies show that those risk averse cultures, those organizations that are a little too afraid to take some risks. They're shaped by that fear of failure and have built up that internal resistance. Those obviously stifle innovation and block those customer centric progress that they're trying to get.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. I'd like to pause for a minute and call out a comment here shared by a member on our audience. I really appreciate this. So Michelle speaks about the example demonstrates a culture organization problem, not really about Tom. I'll keep it short and just make that statement there. But Michelle, I wholeheartedly agree with you. The environment that surrounds the individual really is either it's the fresh air we breathe into our healthy lungs, or it's the smog we breathe to cause congestion, sickness, and disease. So the individual mindset to change, the ability to change, is heavily influenced by the environment. As we continue to lean in to adaptability in future sessions, we're really going to touch in on the environment, which culture is a big part of that. So thanks, Michelle, for sharing that with us. So folks, I realize we are just at the end of our allotted time. We won't drop off right away. We just have a few more slides to close this out on reflection and application. So if you can stay, that's great. If you can't, we understand as well. But Sandra, why don't you bring us home to the next space?
Yeah, and just if you do have to drop off, we'll share some things with you that we have prepared to help you move on to Monday, and so you can check back with on LinkedIn or we'll reach out to you in the messaging. So, Pete, you often say that leaders determine the speed of the organization. So what does that look like in action if we want to give this a shot on Monday?
So here's the bottom line. When leaders encourage experimentation and remove fear of failure, teams can move faster. So when they're cautious and fear mistakes, teams tend to stall. Speed is cultural, not just procedural, as it's been alluded to, right? And let me reemphasize, psychological safety is the secret sauce here. If your people fear being wrong, they will slow you down. Building an adaptability is the lever for unlocking speed.
Yeah, and I think what we're going to try to steer you toward in this with these questions and suggestions for what to do on Monday is to think about a place where you can begin to learn this as a team. Don't start big, start small, right? You have to learn, you have to set the culture. In education, we call this scaffolding. So here's some questions to get you thinking about that. Like where can you start small and begin to build this culture? Where is your organization slow, or your team? Where is it slow and why? Then think about this. Are you acting on 80% of the information? Are there examples where you're doing that? Or are you waiting for everything? Like, do you find yourself waiting for as much context and as much information as possible because perfection is your actual goal? And so as you look around, what are the opportunities around you that you could pilot? and launch maybe this month to build the practice of learning speed. Maybe it's not the full app or the full product or the course or the full thing, but one small pilot that can get you and your team practicing the art of learning speed.
Thanks, Sandra. So powerful guiding questions for time for reflection, perhaps while you're walking the dog this weekend or anytime you start to be curious about where to leverage this experience. So we're going to give you just a little hit list here. So consider these suggested actions and just choose one of your favorite right now. If you see something on this list that captures your attention, if you want to drop it in comments, you're welcome to do that. But the smart way to approach anything like this is to think about what one thing, that small step that Sandra just talked about, can have the greatest impact with the least amount of effort. Sometimes the best step to take is the path of least resistance, as long as that step is taking you forward. With that, you build some confidence, momentum, you feel positive, and that is a great way to leverage continued progress, particularly when the path gets a little rocky or you start to lean uphill.
That's right. So to summarize this session, our event today, speed wins, and it's adaptability in action. Speed becomes the system that you build, not just an idea, and not just a velocity, right? So speed is built on adaptability, and we hope that today you've learned a little bit more about becoming adaptable and are that much more prepared to accelerate.
Thanks for tying a nice bow on that, Sandra. So thanks everyone for attending. We appreciate you. If you're ready to measure and grow your adaptability, you want to turn slow into fast, connect with us on LinkedIn. We're going to hit this topic square and at an introductory level, but to give you some more color around this, I'll save the excitement and the build up for our session next week. But feel free to join us next Friday at 12:15. You'll get an invitation and you'll see us. My call to action or invitation to you, if you're not following Omni Touchpoint, which is my company services page, it'll be the place where you'll be able to access all these future sessions. And as Sandra alluded to, we'll put some supportive resources up available on LinkedIn, and you'll be able to download those at your convenience. We'll also offer a very short few questions regarding a survey. We'd love your feedback on this experience because, again, constant improvement is a part of growth. And if there's areas or challenges you're facing, we'd love that as well because we have an open slate in the format here. If we can engage you or include you to address any of your areas of particular concern, we would be elated to support you on your growth journey from there.
That's right. So join us next Friday, 12:15. We'll keep it into 30 minutes. Thanks for being with us on our kickoff. This is us learning as fast as we can, putting stuff out there to try to solve a problem that we see among our colleagues and friends and connections. So we hope you have a great weekend and that you are staying curious and staying adaptable.
All right, folks, wishing you all Godspeed. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.
Bye-bye.